Hi, it's really nice for you to be here. I want to talk today about triggers. Many of us experience arguments with our friends, family members, children. We know what an argument is. But what if an argument can be a gift? What if an argument can serve us as a way to grow? A couple of days ago, I had an argument with my partner. Out of the blue, it just happened. And one of the things that I realized is that we can't really finish an argument if we decide to continue being that person who started an argument. If we want to finish an argument while not while not changing ourselves and our perception and our perspective, it's really hard to end an argument. However, if we switch on so-called curiosity button, we can quickly and effectively finish any argument we have, no matter who we argue with. But it requires from us curiosity. So, basing it on my example, I want to kind of dive deeper into the process. And I want to share with you also with the fact that any argument can become our gift. So basically, when I caught myself in the middle of the argument, and it was nasty, it was heated, there was also yelling involved from both parties. At some point, while I was in the middle of raising my voice and telling my truth, I realized how ridiculous the whole situation is and how unnecessary it is. Of course, it's easy to ask ourselves, do I want to be right, or do I want to have peace? But that question in the middle of an argument doesn't always work as the tool to get us out of the argument. What I did instead, once I realized how ridiculous the whole situation is, I stopped. I paused. So I stopped talking. I paused. It's almost like I took a step back, not physically, but kind of mentally in the situation. And I put myself in the position of an observer. So I started observing the situation. I started listening to the words of my partner. I got curious about the words that I have spoken in the middle of this argument. And just like that, I stopped reacting and I started seeking communication instead. And that change in my energy, that curiosity, that observer's role affected obviously the energy in the room. And my partner observing me and seeing that sudden shift in the energy also got curious. And all of a sudden, all the words that I was like planning to say, just to prove that I am right, all of a sudden they evaporated and new words became present. The words that were present because I become present. And it was the quickest transition from argument to peace I have ever experienced. And rather than continuing the fight, we started talking, we started communicating, we got curious of each other. I realized I said some words that were hurtful and painful or could be perceived that way. Not that because it was my intention, but because I was so focused on fighting on my rights. I was so focused on wanting to prove that I am right. But the moment I shifted and got interested in another person and also in me, I noticed that even though there is some truth in my perspective, there is also a lot of truth in my partner's perspective. And we started communicating. That communication wouldn't be possible if I stayed in the being that I was being the moment I started the fight, or we started the fight. It doesn't even matter who started the fight. If I continued being that being, that shift in communication wouldn't have a chance to happen. And our argument changed into conversation, into an open dialogue, a very beautiful dialogue. And we realized that there were things that triggered us, triggered my partner and triggered me. And we don't need to understand why that thing works as a trigger, but observing that this is exactly the thing that triggered me helps us learn something about ourselves. And we very quickly realized that our argument has never been about the things that we thought we argue about. It was about being seen, being loved, being supported, being understood. All of those things were hiding behind the surface. And it's so easy to focus on the surface, especially when we are triggered and we are not curious about enough what triggers us, but we are more interested in proving our truth. But we learned that there was no truth. There were just two souls with human needs, and those needs we can only fulfill ourselves. Nobody can really fulfill our own needs. But those triggers and being open enough to notice what triggers us and dive deeper and ask questions about those triggers makes the triggers a gift. And people who trigger us, funny enough, very often, if we are too focused on our pain and our rights and us, but from this pain perspective, we judge the people who trigger us as bad people, as people who should be eliminated from our life. But rather than entering the victim role, it's good to take a look at those people and ask questions. What specifically triggers me in the behavior of that person? What specifically triggers me in this situation? Why do I feel what I feel? Why do I feel such a huge emotional reaction to what I've heard, to what I've seen? Pause. Take a step back. Put yourself into an observer role and see how your arguments change into beautiful gifts, and observe how you grow, how you change, how your being changes. Happy exploring. That's what I wanted to share with you today. And I invite you, I want to inspire you to practice that and see how your arguments change when your being changes. It's not about being right. Every argument is a gift. There is some treasure if we are willing to dive deeper and if we are willing to notice that treasure. And of course, we can only be responsible for our own path, for our own search of that treasure. We can't make our partners, family members, friends, children responsible for their path. They need to be willing as well to take that path, just like my partner did. And then it can be like a mutual discovery. But even when the person you've had an argument with still wants to stick to that pain and being right and proving something, let them. But focus on your healing. Focus on your path of growth. Focus on you seeing things that you haven't seen before. Focus on unmasking your triggers. That way, there is a chance you will inspire others. If not to do that, at least inspire them to become curious. What has just happened? Why did you stop fighting with me? And if you, in the coming days, will notice the difference, share with me. I would love to hear from you. Share with me with your story, how you suddenly start noticing triggers as a gift and those who trigger us as a gift. Happy exploring. See you soon. Thank you for being you.